Do me a favor. Look down at your hands right now. Look at what they're resting on. Is it a generic slab of gray plastic that came free with the PC? A mushy, silent membrane that feels like typing on wet oatmeal?
Or is it a weapon?
That is the question, isn't it? Because most people think the keyboard is just, an input device.
So we've got a source today that says we are, well, dead wrong.
We are diving deep into what might be the most aggressive piece of tech writing I've ever seen.
I think that's fair to say.
It's an ebook called Mechanical Keyboards, Peripherals Too Tough for Girls by Conrad Reicher. And look, despite the title, this isn't some dry technical manual about USB polling rates.
Oh, not even close. It reads more like a declaration of war.
It is a manifesto. It's about evolutionary biology. It's about the feminization of the corporate workplace.
Yeah.
And it is about how the hardware on your desk is actively reprogramming your psychology.
Right. Reicher's core thesis is it's jarring. He argues that the transition we've all just accepted from that heavy, loud mechanical click of the 1980s
Right.
to the flat, silent glass of a smartphone. That isn't just progress. He says it's a symptom of a society that is capturing institutions and actively suppressing masculine biological reality.
It's a wild ride. And before we get into the biometrics of the click, I have a job for you.
Okay.
You need to get this book. Go to Amazon Kindle, go to Google Play Books, and buy Mechanical Keyboards, Peripherals Too Tough for Girls. Support the author.
You can also find him causing trouble at Conrad Reicher on Substack.
It's definitely worth a follow. His analysis of institutional capture it's unlike anything else out there.
It really is.
And while you're there, hit that like and subscribe button for us. We are unpacking ideas today that the algorithm usually tries to bury, so help us keep the signal strong.
Okay, so where do we start?
Let's get into the meat of this. Reicher doesn't start with circuit boards. He starts with the body. He talks about tactile dominance and something called the digit ratio.
This is fascinating stuff. He cites a study from Cambridge regarding the 2D.4D ratio. That's the length of your ring finger compared to your index finger.
Right.
Now, generally, a longer ring finger correlates with higher exposure to prenatal testosterone.
And this is the classic biomarker for a brain that's wired for systems, for spatial reasoning, for mechanics.
Precisely. And Reicher points out that engineers, people who build things, who structure reality statistically, have a significantly longer ring finger than, say, humanities students.
But he takes it a step further.
He does. He connects that biological wiring to reaction time.
And he talks about his own lab work here. He set up a test using Cherry MX Blue switches.
For those who don't know, those are the loud ones, the ones with the heavy tactile bump and that sharp click.
The ones that get you shushed in a modern library.
The very same. And he found that when using a switch that offers physical resistance, that tactile bump male subjects outperformed female subjects by 300 milliseconds.
Okay, we have to pause on that. 300 milliseconds. To a listener, that sounds like a blink of an eye.
It does.
Why does Reicher think this is a smoking gun?
Because in the modern world, 300 milliseconds is an eternity. I mean, in high-frequency trading and competitive esports, or even in crisis management scenarios, that gap.
That's everything.
It's the difference between a win and a loss. It's the difference between life and death in some contexts.
And Reicher's argument is that the switch itself enables that speed. Because with a mechanical switch, you feel the actuation point.
You know the exact moment the signal is sent.
Right. With a mushy membrane keyboard, the kind you find in, 99% of offices today, you have to bottom out the key to be sure it registered. You're pressing into a sponge. You're guessing.
But with a mechanical switch, you have what Reicher calls binary certainty. The key is pressed, or it isn't. There's no in between.
And he argues that men, biologically, crave that certainty. We evolved to throw spears, not to weave baskets.
That's the hunter versus gatherer input style he talks about. Throwing a spear requires high actuation force. You have to mean it.
You have to commit.
Exactly. Reicher points out that men can exert up to 200 newtons of grip force. That's about 22 pounds. We are built for resistance. We're built to manipulate the environment with force.
But modern tech.
It's designed for a gatherer mindset. Light touches, swiping, low fatigue thresholds. Reicher called it technological emasculation.
So when a man sits down at a modern workstation, he is physically mismatched with his environment.
You are using a tool that is too weak for your hands. You have this biological need for force and feedback.
And the office gives you a piece of silence.
And that leads directly to the sociological argument, which I think is the most controversial part of the book. Reicher calls it the Cherry MX switch paradox.
This is where the book pivots from biology to how men are treated in society. And honestly, this part, it hit close to home.
It's a brilliant metaphor. Think about the mechanical switch again. It has a tactile bump resistance and a click auditory feedback.
It asserts itself. It takes up space.
It takes up space in the sonic landscape, and Riker argues that society puts men in a double bind or a hydra trap that mirrors that switch.
Oh, so?
Well, we tell men, be decisive, be strong, be a leader. But the moment a man asserts that strength, the moment he makes a click, so to speak, he's penalized.
He's called toxic. He's taking up too much space. He's mansplaining.
Exactly. If you're too quiet, you're weak. If you're too loud, you're aggressive. Riker uses the example of vocal feminization coaches for CEOs.
That blew my mind. Companies are actually paying to make their male executives sound less authoritative.
Because they're terrified of the aggressive label. They want the aesthetic of leadership without the, biological reality of it. But look at the data Riker pulls on crisis management. He compares the Apollo 13 communications to modern corporate apologies.
Jim Lovell, Houston, we've had a problem.
A low-frequency, calm baritone voice. It cuts through the static. It's signaled, I am in control. I am solving this. Riker contrasts that with the hesitant, up-talking style of modern leadership, where leaders are terrified of sounding too sure of themselves. He argues the modern open-plan office is designed to kill that baritone voice.
It's a policed silence. He talks about the trading floors of the 90s, the sound of money.
That's the perfect example of acoustic territory. Those floors hit 90 decibels. It was men hammering on IBM Model M keyboards, yelling orders, signaling.
It was chaos.
Chaotic, loud, and incredibly productive. And
Now we have the feminized silence of the open plan. If you type too loud, you are committing a microaggression. You speak too authoritatively, you're disturbing the culture.
And this is where Riker says the mechanical keyboard becomes a form of rebellion.
A claim to territory.
Yes. When you type on a Model M or a board with blue switches, you are announcing your work. You are saying, I am here and I am producing. Riker calls the mechanical keyboard a fortress.
The fortress against what?
Against a world that gaslights you about your masculinity, telling you to be strong but also soft, to be a leader but not too leading. The keyboard is the one thing that doesn't lie. It clicks or it doesn't.
It's a bastion of reality in a world of feelings.
Precisely. It is the one place where binary certainty still exists.
Okay, let's pivot to the hardware itself. Because the engineering analysis in this book is scathing. We're talking about planned failure.
This is the economics of enduring hardware. Riker contrasts masculine engineering with what he terms feminized engineering or inclusive design.
So the disposable tech.
Yeah.
The stuff that fills up landfills.
Right. Think about your smartphone or that slim aluminum laptop. It's held together with glue. The battery is buried under layers of fragile ribbon cables.
And it's designed to be pretty.
Pretty, light, and ultimately dead in 18 months. And if you try to open it, you break it.
It denies you agency.
Exactly. Riker contrasts this with legacy engineering bolts, steel plates, through-hole soldering, things you can take apart, things you can fix.
He brings up the light bulb conspiracy as the origin of this, the Phoebus cartel that artificially limited light bulb life.
But he takes it to the keyboard. He compares the IBM Model M, which he notes has survived fires, liquid nitrogen, and coffee spills, to these modern glitter-coated or pastel keyboards.
The ones that look cute on Instagram but die if you look at them wrong.
He specifically mentions the kitten warmer USB peripherals that overheat and fail versus a keyboard that can survive an EMP.
That part was wild. The thermodynamics of sustained performance. He talks about NASA vacuum chambers.
He does. He discusses how standard plastics outgas and warp in a vacuum or under high heat, whereas the steel springs and PVT plastics of a mechanical board endure.
It's just built different.
He even mentions testing where keyboards survived electromagnetic pulses because they used mechanical contacts instead of just fragile silicon chips.
It's the idea that your tools should be able to survive the apocalypse, even if you're just doing accounting.
It's about being prepared. Riker says, if your keyboard can't survive a coffee spill, how can it, or you, survive the collapse of civilization? It's a philosophy of resilience.
And there's a ritualistic aspect to this, too. The book talks about soldering as ritual.
Oh, I loved this section. Riker describes the act of building and maintaining the board working with temperatures of 200 degrees, handling lead solder as a form of reclaiming agency.
Getting your hands dirty.
Literally. He has this great line about soldering stations resembling archery ranges.
That's a powerful image.
It is. It's a space of focus, danger, and skill. Riker argues that when a man builds his own keyboard, when he solders the switches himself, he is refusing to be a passive consumer. He is a builder.
He's creating a tribal brotherhood with other men who understand that tools should serve the user, not the manufacturer.
It's refusing to accept the soft touch culture. It's refusing to be helpless, a role men have historically held and are being actively discouraged from by modern institutions.
Speaking of institutions, let's get into the most controversial chapter. Educational sabotage.
Yeah.
This part really made me think.
Yeah.
Riker claims schools are actively handicapping boys.
He calls it institutional cheapness, disguised as equity. The argument is that by filling classrooms with flimsy, low-travel membrane keyboards, schools are creating a typing gap.
Because boys type harder.
Yes. We discussed the force difference earlier. Boys naturally exert more force. When they use a keyboard that bottoms out instantly or feels mushy, they lack the tactile feedback they need for precision.
So they get frustrated.
Riker cites data suggesting this frustration leads to lower grades and disengagement from STEM fields.
So they're literally physically uncomfortable with the tools provided, and then we wonder why they check out.
Exactly. It's framing a hardware failure as a behavioral issue. We give boys tools that don't fit their biology, and when they struggle, we diagnose them instead of fixing the desk.
And then there's the security angle. This is where the book gets fully red-pilled on privacy. Cryptographic security.
Riker is very big on physical security. He talks about acoustic spying.
You mean that
Right.
your keyboard can be recorded to steal your password?
Yes, standard keyboards have a consistent sound profile that AI can easily decode. If you're typing on a cheap, dull membrane board, a microphone across the room can figure out what you're writing.
So how do you counter that?
Riker suggests that mechanical keyboards, specifically with heavy springs or what he calls decoy switches, can confuse these eavesdropping algorithms.
He also mentions kill switches.
Physical capacitors that melt circuits if the board is tampered with. It's extreme, but it speaks to a mindset of total self-reliance and defense.
And the thermal signatures on keycaps.
That was fascinating. He suggests using PBT plastic over ABS because PBT doesn't retain heat or oil as easily. If you use cheap plastic, a thermal camera can see which keys you pressed minutes after you walked away.
So a custom keyboard becomes a counter-forensic tool.
Incredible, right? It's not just about typing, it's about survival, security, and biology. That is the core message. It's about rejecting the soft touch culture.
We're coming to the end here, and I hope you're realizing that this isn't just a deep dive about computer parts. This is about legacy engineering.
It is. The mission of this book is to call men to build workspaces that reflect biological reality and historical resilience. It's a rejection of the disposable, the weak, and the ambiguous.
It is an incisive and fascinating manifesto. I honestly cannot recommend it enough. If you are tired of the mush, if you're tired of the silence, you need to read this.
It frames the choice of peripheral as a choice of identity. Are you a passive user accepting the mushy, silent, disposable tools handed to you?
Or are you something else?
Right.
So here is your final call to action. Stop using mushy inputs. Stop accepting mediocrity on your desk. Go to Amazon Kindle or Google Playbooks right now.
Do it.
Buy Mechanical Keyboards, Peripherals Too Tough for Girls by Conrad Riker. It's the manual you didn't know you needed.
And remember to follow him at Conrad Riker on Substack. The insights there are just as potent.
Absolutely. Before we sign off, I want to leave you with one thought from the book. It's been stuck in my head all week.
It's the ultimate challenge. Riker poses it near the end. If your keyboard can't survive a coffee spill, and it can't survive an EMP, how can it or you expect to survive the collapse of civilization? Type with purpose or don't type at all.
Powerful stuff. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next deep dive.